everybody, and welcome to 5-Minute Interviews. I am here with Jaclyn House, and she is the co-host of Good Day NWA. Jaclyn and her co-host Jason are always helping us out when I've got to get the story out about Night to Shine. And over the last couple of years, Jaclyn, it's been great. I was telling you, it's just been great to do that. So
it has been great. It's been great for us too, and I hope you guys realize that it's really for us on the show. I mean, we love telling people what's happening in Northwest Arkansas, but we really love meeting the people who are doing the work. Like, you guys are doing the work. We're just there for you guys to have a platform to tell everybody else, what you're up to.
You do it so well. And I'll tell you what, I'm ready for you and Jason and whoever else. I'm ready for you guys to come to the next Night to Shine and we're ready. I mean, we'll just make some great videos while we're there and interview some neat people.
Yes, I do love to dance, so just saying.
We're ready for you. We're ready for you. Okay, so that's going to be your second appearance on 5-Minute Interviews as we talk about what your Night to Shine was like.
Okay, it's a deal.
The big question I want to ask you today is, we've had demonstrations, we've had protests about Black Lives Matter, and now I think we're at a point where that's sort of the first step. I mean, we've reacted to something that was horrible. We're affirming something that we need to affirm. Now, I want to ask you, Jaclyn, because you've intrigued me. What's next? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Also, Chris, that's something I'm trying to figure out myself. It's been quite the journey trying to figure out what that looks like, and I've decided to really kind of use my platform to really help people in our community tell their stories. And by that, I mean, there are people in our community who are doing amazing, amazing things. And how can I help get their story out there? I think a lot of times what you see is people in the community doing great things, but you may not hear about it all the time. And so I feel like I can be a vehicle to do that. I do work in TV, but I'm also on social media a lot. And so that's also a platform that I use in order to really talk about what other people in the community are doing. I'm able to connect with different organizations and see how I can help them with whatever their mission is. But then also for me, it's a learning process for me too, because I get to learn about what they're doing. So for me, it's really learning what are the organizations in Northwest Arkansas that are helping amplify voices of people of color. And we have several, and I don't know if a lot of people know. And so I've just kind of made it a mission of mine just to work on that the best way I can. And it's really, when I think about it, it's really little things. Like the other day, I was able to do an Instagram takeover. It was the first time that I had gone and done an Instagram live for Black-owned NWA, which is an online platform that pretty much has a directory of all the Black-owned businesses in Northwest Arkansas. So I took over their Instagram page and talked with a local professional who owns an IP company. So even things like that, like bringing her voice to the front line and saying, hey, if you want to learn about intellectual property, here's a local person who also happens to be African American, who also happens to be a person of color. So to me, it's things like that when I say amplify those voices, or things like that, like really highlighting those people in our community, who are here, who are doing great things, and just giving them and really helping them with a platform to let people know that, hey, we're here. I think that's part of it, is knowing who's in your community. And I think being able to connect with different organizations is just a way to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like, and by knowing stories, like the more that I know your story, the more you know my story, then it's not about, it's about me knowing that you are part of my community, even as you're part of the Black community, even though I'm part of the white community, but we still have our community. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that's pretty much what it is, right? Because I think a lot of times we we get comfortable. You know, we work with people that we know, and that's it. We stay in that lane. How do
Uh,
we cross over? How do we
yes.
get out of our lane and work with somebody completely different? You know, um, it's like a twofold thing, right? Because that helps you learn again who's in your community, but it also expands your network, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually what we should be doing, you know, as a community.
Yeah. And I think, and so it sounds like in telling these stories, and I like your mission, when I know more people in my community and know what, and I've been blessed recently to know what people have had to put up with, it hits me as a human being, and I'm thinking that should not happen. And I'm
Mhm.
going to now do something about that, even if that means I'm going to give people a chance to talk in forums like this.
Yes. And again, it doesn't have to be, to me, it doesn't have to be huge, uh, you know, grand gestures, right? It's
Right.
platforms like this. It's just platforms of letting people know who's in the community. It could be social media, it could be really anything, but just again, how do we get out of our comfort lanes and meet other people in our community to expand our network, to meet more people in the community. And that's one thing I've seen so many local businesses and so many organizations say, hey, you know what, we're here to listen, and we're ready to listen, and we're ready to learn. And so if I can even help somebody say, hey, do you know Chris? I think you guys would be great to work together. Then to me, for that day, you know, my mission
Yeah.
is complete. But it's just something that I want to be intentional about. Um, and so I'm working through that. So I'm
So
excited.
yeah. Okay. So I like what you're thinking here, and I'm glad. See, this is actually a workshop. We're doing
I
this, aren't
know.
we? Yeah. Yeah. And so sometimes it comes under the banner or under the news heading Black Lives Matter, and some days it's just us doing our work together,
Hmm.
understanding differences, but also what we need to agree on.
Sure.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, it could be maybe because you've kind of gotten out of that lane and you've met somebody different. It could be like the partnership match made in heaven. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Just think about how many relationships could potentially grow from, you know, something like this when we are intentional about the connections, you know, that we make.
Okay. So the next step is let's just intentionally blunder into this together. How does that sound?
Yes. Yes.
With
I
love and
agree.
goodwill and
Yes.
encouragement
Yes.
and be fearless.
Yes, yes. And I mean,
And
again, and it could be things like, you know, we have a local NAACP chapter, we have a local Urban League chapter. So
mhm.
even if it's people reaching out to those organizations and saying, hey, I'm interested in learning more, you know, what is it that you do? How can we partner? It can be things like that. It doesn't always have to be things that are that people see you do. You can do things behind the scenes as well that make just as much of an impact as if we're doing this video that gets posted on social media.
Yes. Okay. So Jaclyn, I'm going to keep helping you use your voice,
Yes, please.
and because we've done our 5 minutes here, but we've got a
Already?
lot. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then some, to be honest. I told you it goes by fast. And
It
so
does.
that's why 5 minute interviews is just a suggestion. So sometimes today we're having a 2 for 5 sale.
Nice.
And this is a very special episode of 5 minute
Yeah.
interviews because I have a very special guest. But Jaclyn, I want to keep inviting you to come tell your story, and I'm going to watch you with interest. If anybody's interested in following you, do they just follow you on Instagram or?
Yes, Instagram is the social media channel that I use the most. So I'm at the Jaclyn House. So that's how you can find me.
Yeah. Hey, this
Come
has
holler
been
at me.
good. I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. We'll see you for Night to Shine.
Yes. And see, now that went by fast. And so, oh, and there's so much more I could do there. I mean, that was just That was
That's
great.
not quick. How are you able to even cut these off at 5 minutes?
I can't.